They say wars are not won by noise, but by silence, precision, and timing. And in the early hours of January 4, 2026, while most of Borno State slept under the illusion of calm, something decisive was already unfolding in the shadows. Before dawn broke. Before the first call to prayer echoed. Before families stirred from their beds. Troops of Operation Hadin Kai, working hand in hand with the Civilian Joint Task Force, launched a tightly coordinated, intelligence-driven strike in Konduga local government area. This was not panic response. This was not a desperate chase after an attack. This was not a publicity stunt. This was a calculated surgical operation, designed to cut deep into the arteries that keep terrorism alive. A strike planned in silence. Military sources described the mission as swift, precise, and deliberate. Every movement was mapped. Every step was based on confirmed intelligence. Every second mattered. The target was a known crossing point along the Kia axis, the seemingly ordinary route that insurgents had been quietly exploiting to move fighters, shift weapons, transport captives, and disappear into civilian environments. And this detail changes everything. Terrorist groups don't survive only by pulling triggers. They survive by movement. They survive by routes. They survive by blending in. Cut the routes, and you suffocate the network. So here's a question for you watching right now. How many attacks never made the headlines because they were stopped before they happened? Drop your thoughts in the comments. When contact was made, IT was over fast. As troops closed in, guided by local intelligence from CJTF members who know every footpath, every bend, every suspicious silence, contact was made. The engagement was brief, controlled, decisive. 5 insurgents were neutralized. No prolonged firefight. No chaos. No civilian casualties. No losses on the side of the troops. Let that sink in. This is what modern counterinsurgency looks like when intelligence, discipline, and coordination align. It reflects a clear evolution from the days when operations were often reactive and costly. If you value this kind of deep, frontline analysis, like the video and subscribe now, because these are the stories that don't always trend, but matter the most. The moment that really mattered. But beyond the numbers, beyond the rifles, beyond the tactical success. This operation carried a far more powerful outcome. 3 abducted civilians were rescued alive. In northeastern Nigeria, kidnapping isn't just a crime. It's a weapon of terror. It is used to break communities, fund violence through ransom, force recruitment, punish villages accused of cooperating with the military. Families wait in silence for months, sometimes years, not knowing if their loved ones are alive or already gone. So when those 3 civilians were freed, this wasn't just a rescue. It was hope returning home. Reports indicate they were found in relatively stable physical condition, sitting with their captors when they suddenly sensed something was wrong. No warning shots. No drawn-out chaos. Just the unmistakable sound of trained soldiers closing in. The insurgents ran. The captives lived. Ask yourself this. What does it mean for a family to see someone return from captivity alive? Tell us in the comments how rescues like this affect trust between civilians and the military. Healing doesn't end at rescue. Military authorities confirm that the rescued civilians are now receiving medical care, psychological support, emotional rehabilitation. And this matters. Because trauma doesn't disappear the moment chains are removed. True recovery requires care, dignity, and reintegration. Take a second, like this video and subscribe. Your support helps amplify these overlooked human stories. The Unsung Force, CJTF. No honest analysis of this operation is complete without spotlighting the Civilian Joint Task Force. The CJTF represents something rare in prolonged conflict zones, organized civilian resistance against terror. These are locals. They know who belongs. They know who doesn't. They understand the terrain in ways maps never can. Their role in Konduga once again proves a hard truth. Security works best when communities are part of the solution. Without local intelligence, insurgents stay invisible. Without trust, terrorists hide among civilians. So here's another critical question. How can Nigeria deepen community-based security partnerships without exposing civilians to retaliation? We want your ideas in the comments. Part of a bigger push. As security correspondent Jesse Tafide noted, this operation is not isolated. It is part of a broader offensive across Borno State, stretching into Sambisa Forest, the Mandara Mountains, and other long-held insurgent enclaves. In just the past 7 days, military sources confirm over 15 terrorists neutralized. Large caches of ammunition recovered. Each weapon seized is one less tool of violence. Each camp destroyed shrinks insurgent breathing space. Under the leadership of Abdul Salam Abubakar, Operation Hadin Kai has clearly shifted from defensive containment to proactive dominance. Troops are no longer waiting behind fortifications. They are advancing, pressuring, denying sanctuary. And that changes the psychology of war. Terrorist groups thrive on predictability. When they lose it, their effectiveness collapses. If you believe proactive security saves lives, like and subscribe to stay informed. Who were these insurgents? While identities were not immediately released, analysts believe the neutralized fighters were part of an active operational unit, responsible for logistics, movement, and possibly kidnappings along the Konduga-Kia axis. The recovered AK-47 rifles confirmed this was not a random gathering. And here's the key point. Insurgencies don't collapse overnight. They erode. Through attrition. Through disruption. Through the steady loss of experienced fighters. So here's the big question. At what point does sustained pressure become irreversible decline? Drop your opinion below. Peace will not be negotiated, IT will be enforced. One statement from military authorities stands out. Civilians will be protected. Peace will not be negotiated but enforced. This is more than rhetoric. It outlines a doctrine where civilian safety comes first. Trust generates intelligence. Intelligence enables precision. Precision saves lives. A cycle that favors peace over terror. But enforcement isn't easy. It demands discipline, accountability, resources, and long-term commitment. And it demands public support. That's why stories like this matter. They show progress where despair once dominated headlines. They remind communities they are not forgotten. Beyond the headlines. It's easy to read 5 insurgents neutralized and scroll past. But behind those words are soldiers moving through darkness. Civilians holding their breath. Families waking up to unexpected relief. Imagine being one of the rescued civilians, hearing gunfire, expecting death, and suddenly realizing freedom has arrived. Imagine being one of the soldiers, knowing one wrong step could end your life, yet moving forward anyway. These are the human dimensions statistics can't capture. No single operation ends an insurgency. No single rescue heals every wound. But each success chips away at fear and replaces it with cautious hope. The momentum is shifting. Konduga tells us something important. The military is adapting. Communities are cooperating. Insurgents are being forced onto the defensive. The real question now is not whether progress is possible, but how it can be sustained. So we leave you with this final thought. What must Nigeria do to turn military victories into lasting peace and real development for affected communities? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more in-depth reporting from Nigeria's security frontlines. This is not just news. This is the story of a nation pushing back.